So if you spent any time at all in the weirder, more wonderful corners of the book internet, you have definitely heard the name Chuck Tingle. He's a two-time Hugo Award finalist, a super prolific author, and let's be honest, one of the most delightfully baffling figures out there today. But who is he? Is he a real person, a comedic persona, some kind of wild art project? Let's try and figure it out. And that really is the central mystery, isn't it? The second you stumble upon his work, your brain just fills with these questions. Is this all just one big elaborate joke? Is it some kind of brilliant next-level performance art? Or is there something genuinely deep and profound happening just behind that curtain of pure absurdity? I mean, this quote from a Reddit user just perfectly sums up why everyone is so captivated and, yeah, so confused. And yes, that is a real title, and yes, you can actually have it read to you. For a lot of people, this is their first step into the strange and wonderful world of Chuck Tingle. Really, this whole explainer kicked off because of a simple, honest question someone posted on Reddit. A user named Banana Panic Room was looking at Tingle's work and felt, in their own words, confused but also kind of delighted. And that feeling is pretty universal for newcomers. So let's break down exactly why that is. Okay, so here's the thing that gets everybody. It's this wild juxtaposition. On one hand, you'll see these incredibly serious, professionally designed covers for what look like really gripping queer horror novels. But then, right next to them on his author page, you'll find stuff like this. It's a total whiplash moment for sure. And yeah, these titles, they're not just for show. These are the actual, real titles of his self-published stories. You've got everything from sci-fi erotica to parodies that are clearly pushing back against bigotry, to these incredibly specific emotional ideas all wrapped up in this wild comedic package. It's a lot to take in at first glance. So it makes sense that this confusion leads directly to the big debate. It's the one that was raging in that very Reddit thread. Are these books just silly throwaway gags? Or is there a truly sincere artistic vision going on here? And you can see the two sides laid out perfectly right here. One user, Mischief of Rots, basically said they're joke books, kind of like greeting cards. You know, performance art with a message, but not what you'd call a serious novel. But then, another user, It Might Be Here, pushes right back, insisting they are real books, that they're often way deeper than their titles suggest, and that they are absolutely not written as jokes. And then, well, you have the man himself. In response to these exact kinds of conversations, Chuck Tingle has been incredibly clear and consistent for years. He says, point blank, that his erotica is sincere. He totally gets that they make people laugh, and that's fine, but they are not written as jokes. So what is actually going on here? So how do we square that circle? How can both things be true? Well, this right here, this is the key. This is what unlocks the entire mystery. To really understand Chuck Tingle, you have to realize that he's working in two very distinct but connected literary worlds. And boom, here it is, the big aha moment. There are the Tinglers, that massive library of self-published short stories famous for their totally bizarre, satirical, and erotic ideas. And then there are his novels, full-length, traditionally published works of acclaimed queer horror, like Camptonaskis and Bury Your Gaze. They aren't the same thing, and knowing how to separate them is absolutely crucial. So on one side, you have your classic Tingler. It's short, it's completely absurd, it probably has a dinosaur or maybe a sentient object as a main character, and it's using that absurdity to talk about love and acceptance in this very direct, very funny way. And then on the complete other side of the spectrum, you have this, a critically praised, genuinely terrifying, and powerful horror novel that takes on harmful tropes in queer media. It's the same author, but a totally different format and a completely different way of telling a story. And this brings us right back to the person who started that Reddit thread. Once this distinction was made clear, it just all clicked for them. They got it. The serious horror novels and the wild Tinglers could exist at the same time, and the Tinglers were just a fun way to support an author they admired. But that whole idea of supporting an author, that's a really big deal here. Because to fully understand Chuck Tingle, you have to look beyond the books themselves. A huge part of this whole phenomenon is the persona, the activism, and the incredible community that he's built around his work. He calls his fans buckaroos, and it's more than just a cute nickname, right? It's like an invitation to be part of a community. It signals that you're all in on the same joke and that you're committed to the same ideas he champions. And this ethos, it's at the core of literally everything he does. Tingle uses his platform relentlessly to promote kindness and to advocate for queer and trans rights. He's also been incredibly open about his own journey as an autistic person, and in doing so, he's built this online space that feels genuinely joyful, safe, and radically inclusive. So, if you pull all of these different threads together, the Tinglers, the novels, the activism, the community, you start to see a surprisingly consistent and really powerful core philosophy that holds it all together. And here it is, the foundational message, something he repeats in his books and on social media, is this simple. Love is real. And for him, that is not a metaphor. It's a statement of fact. It's the belief that love, in all of its forms, is a tangible, powerful, and real force for good in the universe. And that core belief blossoms into these key ideas. The idea that kindness is a strength, not a weakness. That you can use absurdity and silliness to tell a much deeper truth. That queer joy is something to be celebrated. That we should always challenge rigid social norms. And, maybe most importantly, that you are real, and the world is a better place when we believe in both. This is the heart of Chuck Tingle. So, in the end, we're kind of left with this question. Tingle's work, whether it's a terrifying horror novel or a funny story about a handsome velociraptor, is all trying to do the same thing. Make people feel seen, validated, and loved. And if a story does that, does the packaging really matter? He kind of proves that sometimes the most profound truths can be found in the most ridiculous places imaginable.